Hey, mister. No, up here. What you digging for? It's a secret, kid, but I guess I can tell you. We're digging for buried treasure. Wow, really? How'd it get in Mr. Pinkster's backyard? It was put there by, monsters, yeah.
Okay, we are taping Charles Burns, the cartoonist, the legendary creator of Black Hole, which has been a cursed property. They've tried, I think, to turn into a movie a million times, but they can't capture the magic of Charles Burns on the screen.
Oh, you know what? I just remembered I met him once and I had him do, I have this, I went to a comic book convention. I had him do like a doodle in the notebook. I just remember that. It's cool. Yeah.
Oh, he seems like a nice guy.
He was, yeah, he didn't talk much, but he was nice. I didn't talk either though. So.
Yeah, he has like a very distinct aesthetic.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea who this person is. Although the style is familiar. This guy was publishing in the 90s.
Yeah.
This doesn't look like it was published in the 90s. You know what I mean? It looks older than that.
Was
Yeah,
it him?
like the 50s kind of thing to it.
It's got some nostalgia to it.
Mm-hmm.
Got some, it looks contra, like the black and white publication in the 90s, like the noir style is somewhat like of a standout. Whenever I think of noir, I think of Six Wing Five.
Okay.
Just as a genre, but that doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't mean anything about this guy, but it is sort of how I think about, you know, The Killers and Sin City and Chinatown and like all that kind of stuff, like all those kinds of movies. So if he's doing noir, it's pretty, it seems contra. Nostalgia, I don't know, 9 maybe somewhere on him.
Yeah, to me it's more
That's
like
what I'm getting from these pictures.
Like old sci-fi movie influence, but I can see what you're saying. And Tintin influence too.
I love
Obviously.
Tintin. Yeah, it's very much like he's not trying to look like contemporary 90s cartoonist. Does that make sense?
It somewhat reminds me of David Lynch. Some of his movies have that sort of like nostalgia feel to it, like 50s tinged, but like obviously it's not recreating like 50s outward, but I totally see that here as well a bit. Like taking some like feeling of it and putting it in here. And like not all of it looks like it, but some of it for sure.
Well, that would be interesting because like I've noticed there are parallels. Like I think Charles Burns may be in the 953 space, but I'm not sure. But I've noticed there are parallels with 953 and 974, which is what David Lynch has been typed as. But I've noticed there's just like, yeah, some sort of overlap.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I don't think this guy's 974.
No, I don't either.
Yeah, I'm just from that, I don't think so.
Yeah, I would love to claim him, but yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen.
Hey, David, thanks for coming. Gosh, what's my book about? It's about the fact that they're here. They're here. I don't know what to say. The reason I don't talk in public is because I'm better at writing stories and drawing pictures in the privacy of my studio. And the words that I have to say are going to be in the book.
Wait, did you say something?
I said privacy because he said privacy. Doing this in the privacy of my own studio.
Withdrawn.
That's all. I was flagging that word.
Yeah, I mean he's like, yeah, broadcasting withdrawn type or something with withdrawn.
I mean, 5'6" fits his look. If he looks like he's got 5'6" in the headspace for sure to me. Just like I'm just sort of tossing that out as a hypothetical hypothesis, I should say.
I was thinking he might be double 4 wing, but I'm open to a 5 wing 6. He has a lot of, he does a lot of like infection and like a lot of he kind of addresses that though, but he does a lot of grotesque sort of.
Yeah, a lot of almost body horror images.
Yeah.
So probably not self-pres blind.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
book. So I prefer to have the book speak for itself. That was really the basis or the beginning of the story for me. Just an actual moment when I was, I guess, in my early 20s.
I just want to say too, don't you think he kind of sounds like Chuck Palahniuk, Nicholas?
I don't know yet, but I see there's a similar maybe. I don't know. I need to listen more intently.
Sitting in a kitchen, looking at myself,
Yes.
and
Yeah, I think he does.
that someone would come in and notice.
He's doing the same. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, it could be social self-pres 9-wing 1E. I don't know, but it's.
What? Yeah, interesting.
I'm not certain of his core, so.
If 3 fix, not 3 core, I'm already on that here.
Yeah, I think 3-wing 4 heart.
Why? Because he's too. Why? Because he's too withdrawn.
I mean, we've watched I've never heard of this guy, and we're 3 minutes and 36 seconds in. I'm just sort of basically saying I'm not getting any, to put a fine point on it, I'm not seeing any evidence of core 3 at the moment.
The drawings that I do and have an understanding of who I am just by looking at the artwork that I was making.
That was sort of some 3-wing 4 and 9 stuff right there.
What exactly was he saying?
That you like know what kind of person he is by his art, or did I butcher that?
No. What I mean, like he said, I remember he said something about how he was sitting in the kitchen table, starting to think of the story, and then what did he finish up with?
In a kitchen, looking at myself and hoping that someone would come in and notice and see the drawings that I do and have an understanding of who I am just by looking at the artwork that I was making.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right, sure. That's some image stuff, but it's not very like.
No, I think that's 9 though, more than anything.
Maybe so. Like wanting to be noticed and understood for your art, that's some degree of image there.
Is it image or but it's like hiding, sort of like hiding of his art.
About periods of my life and trying to have that come out through the characters and to try to have a kind of authentic voice. So yes, I would say all of my characters, there's portions of my characters that are autobiographical.
I feel like you can see the competency stuff too. It's like he seems very like just kind of, I don't want to say robotic, but
I would wonder about core 5. He's giving very short answers.
Could be 5 or 9. Well,
and I wouldn't completely rule out 6-wing 5 either.
Oh man, that would fuck me up.
I'm not able to tell you that based on anything I've seen that like notice 6-wing 5. You feel me?
Yeah. Okay.
He also, in the weirdest way possible, kind of looks like Stephen King.
Well, he's better looking than poor Stephen King, but yeah, I can see what you're saying. I don't know. I'm not getting core head, but maybe.
I mean, things like 6-wing 7 and 7 are just not are out of the question, I think.
Yeah, I don't see any 7.
Yeah. No 8-wing 7.
No.
Received my first Tintin book, which is a normal thing for most French or Belgian kids, but for me, it was even before I could read. So for me, it was looking at those books incredibly carefully. And for example, the end papers, which I've already used in other books, there was something that was very compelling, because you would see some characters you recognized, and then I knew there were other books out there that were telling other stories that I hadn't read. So it was frustrating, but also very intriguing at the same time. Looking at these evidence of other stories that I couldn't read. I had a friend whose parents were French, and he had two French books by Hergé, and I'm looking at this, and it's in French, and I can follow the story, the pictures, but I don't know what Snowy's saying. I don't know what Tintin is saying. I could have chosen another style or another artist besides Hergé, but for me, it's a personal decision because it's something that that world, was something very clear and strong to me.
Right?
I said that feels like an attachment thing to say and feel.
Yeah. And for like he's just saying the word frustration, but to fixate on a thing that you can't read and become obsessed with it is sort of seems like a frustration pattern, which could be wing. Oh.
Well, it's also not very head center. I mean, if you think about it, like he's not able to really mentally orient himself through what he's looking at, but he's still experiencing it and vibing with what he's getting from what he's experiencing.
Mhm.
Another thing that's interesting is like Tintin. I mean, I don't know if we want to digress to Tintin, but Tintin's got to be like a 6-wing-7, right?
I don't know. I'm not into
I don't know.
Tintin.
I mean, like I'm pretty sure Tintin is a 6.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we're getting somewhere here. This is a better interview, I think, than the last one.
Okay.
At an age before I had, formulated what that real world was out there. It was a very internalized world. In this book, I really all those elements just kind of rose to the surface, and I did want to use those elements in a more explicit way. There's nothing random about it. Where Burroughs was using a collage technique, an art technique applied to writing. This has the appearance of a collage technique, but is really very, very precise and controlled. Originally, the cut-up technique was discovered by his friend Brian Geisen, who was cutting newspaper. He was cutting a mat, and he was cutting newspapers, and then he noticed that pieces had come together and formed new sentences. For me, that really wasn't an influence for me. It's random juxtapose of words. I was more interested in his very explicit, his imagery. He's a very visual artist, a very visual writer.
I'm kind of seeing social self-prezi stuff here. The way that he's kind of collecting things and trying to build with them, like collecting like images and ideas and reference points and stuff, like, and maybe like attachment influence too. But I also like maybe 3-wing 4 and 5 as well again, because he's like drilling into very specific images and very specific, like he's not really like
Everything about him seems social self-pres. I think we can lock that one in.
Yeah. So and
I'm
social
on board with
self-presses
that.
just seem more like poised, I think, too, and like pulled together in interviews for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's social self-present. I think he's 3-wing 4, but it probably is a third fix. And I think his gut fix is 9, specifically 9-wing 1.
Yeah, I'm leaning 9-wing 1
And
too.
his head is the problem.
I mean, I'm still seeing 5 for head, but I'm not sure about the wing though. Like,
so what are you seeing? Like what's anchoring you to 5 here specifically.
I just don't see 6. Like, sure, he's saying attachment stuff, but if he's got 9 and 3, then that's attachment. I don't see
Yeah.
super ego. I don't see the reactive sort of head stuff. Like he's not really, and if he's social self presence with 6 can't, and if he's got 4 influences, can't help shitting on stuff. Like he hasn't shit on anything in any of the interviews that I've watched of him. And
Yeah, and I don't think he's 5-wing 4 head type. No, I don't think so.
I can give that up.
I don't think so. So I mean, he's a pretty good artist. He's pretty good at this stuff. Like, I mean, his quality of his drawings is quite good. He's mostly realist. There's not a lot of like enhancement. You know, that's just like a good cartoon ape that also looks fairly realistic. Sort of the realism content is more prominent than the fantasy content by a lot. So
yeah, and I guess I could see like if he has a wing 6, like that it being an influence on social self-pres with the pop culture stuff, like where if he was like double wing 4, he might be less interested in this kind of social milieu, cultural milieu.
I mean, this is kind of random, but do you know have you seen any interviews of him talking about like technique? Because I mean, the thought behind the question as we look for this is that, you know, head like talking through your technique that you use or your process is going to be like an exercise in mental navigation, which would be what the head center is about in a lot of ways. So it might give us a better idea of what his head fix is if he talks us through how he does things. Because I think he's 9-wing 1 first, 3-wing 4 third. And it's 5-wing 6 versus 6-wing 5 in the middle. And I mean, I agree with you that I'm not really seeing 6, but that's not good enough if you catch my drift. Like I want to see 5 and not just not see 6. You know what I mean?
No, but the thing is, like, he does have that flat affect associated with the 359 trifix, and I can see in his work too. Like, I've noticed just patterns of 359 and 479 similarities. Looking at looking at filmmakers, looking at whoever, and it's like there's the similar sort of fascination with the grotesque, and not that a 6 can't have that, but it's more of like this removed sort of like Cthulhu fucking cosmic horror sort of shit, you know?
Like that pink thing right there.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, this is why I was like, he must be 5-wing 4 head, but yeah.
I mean, Lovecraft is kind of like the king of the 5-4 area, 4-5 area, but
yeah,
I'm not seeing that for him really.
And I think I took some of the kind of surface techniques of his cut up
okay,
later to impose on the story. There's the appearance in this book because it's piecing the same story with some new portions. But if you actually start at the very beginning and try to read even without the fake text, it has the sense of a progression, not just I use this figure eight
impressions.
So I guess granular, like everything is different from everything else, and everything can be broken down into pieces and then further broken down into pieces, like down to the atomic level, sort of dissecting. That's 5 like themed head talk. So if he's assembling like compositions based on like cutting out pieces of various things and then like rearranging them, it's kind of 5, I guess.
Yeah. Do you think he could be 5 head or 5 core?
No. No, I don't think so. He's pretty like the nostalgic factor is like the first thing that hits me. He's kind of, he's, 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 Trying to think about how to say this.
I think,
He's kind of warm too, I would say. He's not cold enough.
yeah, I think he has a lot of things about him scream attachment to me.
Yeah.
Just like being linking himself to that like 50s stuff and the Tintin stuff really. I was like, oh
Yeah.
no. So that's what I get. Yeah, the warmness there. Like I definitely see that as well. He doesn't feel like necessarily a core five. Like I would give that from his art probably, but again, he's another person where I don't really like it doesn't really reflect too much in his like personality, at least in the videos, you know. So
Yeah, I mean, fives are almost always social introverts and they're quiet a lot of the time. But when they talk, there's a very like crystallized quality that's clear generally. I mean, we can think of exceptions, but and usually the exceptions have something to do with the stacking. So yeah. Like in other words, if you have like social sexual five, it's can be a little bit more scatterfuck, but like a social self-pres five is gonna have like crystallized thoughts that are kind of distinctive.
Yeah, he does seem like if he's 9-wing-1-5-3 that he would be triple competency adjacent because there's something very rigid about him. And
his art honestly is pretty like clean, like very like look at that. I mean, not
I mean, it's kind of flat, right? Even when it's not. Like
yeah.
There's a sense of normality to these like eldritch horror images that he's doing. It's not intensified, like, you know, if it was like a 6-wing 5 with like an 8 fix or something, the horror elements would be like bleeding through the image in some way. Or if it's like a 5-3-8, it's going to be like, you know, it's going to be like making more of an impression. But with this flat line, it's got some horrificness to it, but it's also like oddly clinical, right?
It is very clinical.
A lot of these just like look like they're sketches that he's doing as an exercise or as a demonstrative in a classroom. Like a lot of this looks like sketches to try to refine his technique. Like he's just trying to get better at doing art, and he just kept doing it. You know.
Interesting.
And I mean, not double assertive in any way. Double withdrawn up front, so it's like 9-5. So assertive third and not really pronounced. Seems like this guy just spends all day like in the studio drawing shit.
Yeah.
And doesn't really do much else, and is like, yeah.
like you don't know that.
Huh?
But yeah,
I'm not like disparaging that. I'm saying like this is a guy who's kind of
Also
living in his own world of like creating this sort of flatlined contra drawing.
Yeah. His stuff is also very like it's like he does broad, but then he does very detailed as well. It's like very like he can really do the details of the backgrounds, which I feel like you would have to have a 5 head to be able to do.
I mean, yeah, there's so much like you know who he kind of reminds me of? The what's his name? Jim Woodring. Very like somewhat similar style there. Like, but he's much more like fantastical, leans more into the cartoony stuff, but similar attention to detail, for sure. And I think they're actually friends. So
They're very clean and strong lines with the like high contrast black and white is very contra. That's not like 974 or something.
Yeah, it's like social self-pres, I think. Like, I mean, not as a rule, but especially if you have to get your stuff printed, it can be harder to have color and stuff. But But yeah, okay. So
Yeah, it's not like he's like never done color, you know. So it seems like it's like, yeah, he's black and white is like, yeah.
yeah, he's not like prioritizing the color, it's prioritizing the black and white and then filling in color.
Yeah, and when the color is there, it's not like the color is really adding much. It's like those are like obviously those are the colors you would expect to be there. It's like, okay, like it doesn't seem like he cares so much about that.
Yeah, I
could be
mean,
wrong.
Nicholas, I'm with you on attachment now that I think about it, because like I feel like this guy's trying to spend his time trying to recreate the experience of discovering the artwork that made him want to be an artist. So there's that nostalgic quality where he's like, he's trying to recreate something that he's experienced in the past.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
super talented.
Yeah, incredible. Like the images are just so good. I love that picture of William Burroughs. That was my phone background for a long time.
So Charles Burns, social self-pres, 9-wing 1, 5-wing 6, 3-wing 4. So that, what does that make him, a taxidermatologist?
Yeah, and I think it fits too.
Triple attachment and triple competency and almost triple, and triple withdrawn. Okay, that's cool.
Missing 2, not really any 2 anything anywhere really.
Yeah, no 2, no 8, no 7.
No 2, no 8, no 7. Yeah.
I don't know if I don't know. I like thinking about those like 90s, early 2000s cartoonists kind of as a group because there definitely is something like thematically and not even just like with the artwork with their books. It's like surreal, funny, and just but also like weirdly sticking to realism. Like Charles Burns doesn't do as much long form shit as Klaus. Like Klaus will like really like he has a lot more like work, and I feel like Burns is more about like the image, except for like Black Hole, which is like his one big like long thing.
And yeah, and Charles Burns stuff is very serious, and Daniel Klaus is like just
it's absurd.
Like, hitting on everything.